I'm sure most of you have always had that one car you've wanted to buy since you were young, or just had that dream supercar or sports car that you just wanted to own. And in today's video, I thought I would make a list of 5 of my favourite choices that are fairly cheap on the market at the moment that you can afford. Hey, I'm Carter Ben and I make weekly car content, so let's get into today's video. Just want to start by saying if you are new here, do consider subscribing because I make weekly car content and the channel is really growing. In with my number 1 choice is the Alfa Romeo 4C. Now this is probably one of my favourite cars on this list today. Now the 4C was in production from 2013 all the way to 2020. Now yes, while a lot of these cars will be expensive to the majority of people, they are the most affordable super/sports cars, and I really wanted to make that an obvious apparent thing in this video. With the 4C, I am a bit concerned that it might be going back up in price, as it is a very desirable Alfa Romeo, and Alfa Romeos typically do have a bit of an appeal when it comes to their desirability and their Italian flair. But in this video, I have put this car here for a good reason, and that is because these aren't too badly priced considering they used to be a 50 to 60k car, so in the last maybe 7 years they've dropped about 10k. Here I found one for 39,000, which I thought was pretty reasonable. Now I do think they are going back up, like I said, depending on the mileage, but some of them can also be more. That interior, as we know in an Alfa Romeo, is lovely, but with the 4C it's actually bare minimum, and it's actually very basic in terms of its features, and you can't move the seats, and it's quite a small car, so that is a downside to the 4C. That being said, if you do want an Italian sports or supercar that isn't a Ferrari, Lamborghini or Maserati, and you can just about afford a 4C, then go for it. I think this is a really rare and unique car, and I absolutely love them. Now yes, you could get a cheaper Maserati at a £10,000 to £20,000 price, but with the 4C I feel like this is a very desirable sports car / supercar that could rise in value, and now is probably a good time to buy one. In at number 2, and probably the daddy of this list, is a car that, again, I absolutely love. It is the Audi R8 first gen. Now, this is quite a popular, cheap supercar at the moment. A lot of people are aware of this because it has sort of lost its value over time. Now, some of these cars are, I just think, excellent. I have actually driven an R8, and I was an R8 V10, given to be fair, but it was an excellent car. Really enjoyed it over maybe the typical Ferrari that you would get. And I still think these look stunning on the road, and I think if anyone wants to get a supercar on a budget, it would be the first generation R8. Now, this came along in 2003 originally at the Geneva Motor Show, and then was released in the sort of late 2007 era. Now, these cars now are £34,000, so that's cheaper than the Alfa Romeo, and you're getting all that German tech, and reasonable car at that. It is an Audi system, so as we know, Audis work. Yes, the flappy paddles might not be as up to date as we want them to be, like that gated manual. Obviously that would be my preferable choice, to get the gated manual on the R8, because I think it sounds much better to drive and it sounds amazing, and definitely would recommend that option if you can find one. Now the manuals probably are a little bit more, but that being said, if you can get that R8 5.2 litre engine, as we can see here, that V8, is incredible. And to be honest, in my opinion, I think the R8 first gen looks better than the new ones. This car, I think, will potentially be a future classic and rise in value again. So at the moment, while it's cheap, why not go for one if you're in the market? And I absolutely love these things. You know, they're so iconic. They've been in pretty much every racing game. And yes, R8 definitely. At number 3 is a very solid choice again. It is the Aston Martin V8 Vantage, a car that is undeniably British and looks fantastic. Depending on the colour you go for, in this blue I think it looks amazing, and they updated it and facelifted it over the years until the new version came out. Now the reason I've gone for this car is because I think it is one of the most prettiest on the list, and it's also an Aston Martin, and it's just a very desirable brand if you're into supercars as well. Now this car was originally released in 2005, and it had a 4.3 litre V8 engine with around 380 horsepower, so pretty reasonable for what it was. As you can see, these are now under £30,000 for some of these. Now, yes, that might be the higher mileage ones, but this is the cheapest on the list so far. And at £30,000 for the car you get in, I feel like this is a really cool and understated car. Now, yes, it is like the baby of the Aston range, but I feel like it was still a very good looking car. It's aged quite well. Now, the technology might not be as great in it. That has been an issue for a lot of Aston Martins, as we know, especially with gearboxing issues. You know, we want it to be a manual. But what's great about an Aston is that it's hand built. every car has been very carefully designed, and feel like once you buy one of these, you know you're getting something very special, and you just don't really get that, let's say, with, you know, it's just got more soul compared to perhaps a Porsche has. Now, that being said, I do love these things, but they are incredibly expensive to maintain, especially being an Aston Martin V8 Vantage, and they're older now, so they might be a little bit less reliable. But there aren't many on the road, and I think it's definitely a good option if you are really into your supercars or your sports cars. You want something a bit different. The V8 Vantage is definitely one to consider, and it's probably the prettiest out there. You're definitely going to get a few heads turned with this thing. At number 4, we have another British option. It is not often I put more British cars on this list. It is the Jaguar F Type. Now, this is the early Jaguar F Type, the very 2014 model perhaps, which is the one you'll probably be looking at for this list. It is a car that, again, is quite similar to the Aston in many ways. It's 2 doors. It's like a coupe sort of style sports car, and I absolutely love this thing. Again, it's a bit more ferocious than the Aston. You're probably going to have a bit more fun in it. Now, these came with a 3-litre V6, depending on the model. Obviously, if you went for the F-Type R or the Special Edition, it was a very powerful car, 0-60 in 4.8 seconds, and a top speed of 171. Now, yes, that isn't a huge speed compared to a lot of supercars, but this is, don't forget, this is entry-level supercar territory here, and it's pretty good to get into. As you can see here, we found one for just around £36,000, which wasn't too bad, so more than the Aston, but then less than the Alfa Romeo, so it sort of slots nicely in there, and a bit more than maybe a Audi R8. What I have to say about these is it is a Jaguar Land Rover product, so at the time they were making this, it was well thought out and designed, and much better than the old F-Type, which was very rushed. And I do really like these. It's a very comfortable cruising car. I think the best bit about this car is probably that it's just a pretty car as well. I don't think there's many supercars on this list that aren't pretty, and these had a very good review and attention when they first released in the early 2010s when they first were designed and looked into, and with that powerful V8 or V6, depending on the one you go for, you've still got quite a lot of power to play with, and I think they're a little bit leery in the corners as well. So absolutely love F-Types, and you can also go for the Roadster if you prefer, which is obviously a more desirable option if you're in a hotter country, but I would personally go for the Coupe because these cars just look better in their Coupe style, and definitely one to select. And guys, for my final option on this list, I hope you enjoyed this one. It is the BMW i8, a slightly different take on the supercar scene. And this is really unusual, and I've actually grown to like this car quite a lot. Now, this is a very rare car. You don't really see anyone driving these very often, and I think there's a good reason for that. The depreciation was huge. Now, this car was just under 100k when it released, which was crazy expensive, and obviously you can get the convertible version, which looks fantastic, and I think they sold quite well in America as well. Now, this car was originally released in 2014 and had production all the way up to last year, 2020, with 20,000 units sold, so not bad at all. Now, what's different about this car is that it is a BMW i8 engine, which is the 1.5-litre turbocharged gasoline engine, but it's also a plug-in hybrid, so this makes it a little bit different from the usual. As you can see here, I found one for £43,000. Now, that is a huge depreciation, probably the biggest depreciation of the whole list on this video, and I really think that is something to consider when looking at an i8, because I don't think they're going to go much lower. They just look really unique, very different, just very futuristic, and what you would expect when you think of a sports car or a supercar in the future. And I think still to this day, the i8 does really look and stand out, even though it's now 7 years old. Now, this car was actually very well reviewed by Top Gear, having a 9 out of 10. And this was the latest 2018 model. It's just a new age, sustainable sports car, they said, and it just managed to have incredible power and was really good. Now, to live with every day, yes, it might not be the best, but I definitely think this car is one to consider because it is just so different from the rest, and I love i8s now. I think they've really grown on me. So there it is, the BMW i8 for a different change of scenery. Hey everyone, it's Ben here, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed making it, and I think there's a lot of interesting choices when it comes to supercars nowadays with the drop in prices, and with so many available on the market. It's definitely very interesting. Let me know what you pick. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Leave a like, let me know that you subscribe down below. It really helps me out, and I'll see you guys in the next car content video where I make weekly car content.